Good evening, good evening. Thank you so much for staying with us here nationwide at 5. I'm Cliff Hughes.
And I'm Ricardo Brooks.
We're going to move into the nation's business now, and on the political scene, the acrimonious fight in the PNP constituency organization in South East St. Catherine has resurfaced. The embattled caretaker for the seat, Dr. Alfred Dawes, has revealed that he was poisoned last year in a politically motivated plot aimed at tarnishing his reputation.
The prominent medical doctor made the shocking allegation as he addressed comrades at Waterford High School in Portmore on Sunday. He says at the core of the plot was an effort to end his fledgling political career. Here's Nora Gay Banton's report.
Dr. Dawes told comrades a tale on Sunday that could have been ripped from the pages of a Russian spy novel. Except, according to him, it happened right here in Portmore, St. Catherine. The popular doctor told his stunned audience the poison was meant to kill a fellow comrade and implicate him in murder. Dr. Dawes says the food was ordered and paid for by an unnamed male. It was intended for a woman who was with him.
We got the food, and I was dropping out. She said, "My MP, you don't eat from morning, better you eat it." Dropped her home. And I was eating the food, my throat started to tighten up. And I couldn't breathe properly. And I called some friends in the police and the university hospital, and I ended up at the university hospital that night. The next morning, reporters kept calling, and they kept asking about the woman who was rushed to the hospital. Because the plan was never for me to eat that food, it was for her to eat that food, and they were hoping that I would be rushing a dead female to the hospital, and the scandal that ensued would destroy my name.
The allegations come amid new divisions in the PNP's constituency organization in southeast St. Catherine. Delegates are still dissatisfied with Dawes being parachuted into the seat last year. Since he was handpicked for the seat by PNP President Mark Golding, arsonists have attempted to destroy the PNP's constituency office. Dr. Dawes had previously denied reports that there was an attempt to poison him. He said he had also kept the attempted murder from the party's leadership and his family. Dr. Dawes says he suffered internal organ damage from the poison attempt.
I'm a fit man, I exercise, I ride. When the results came back at UE, it showed that I had liver and kidney damage. By that time I had gone to SAB because I was feeling better. And I repeated the blood test there. It showed the liver and kidney damage, but it was improving. And that cemented everything that I was poisoned. And I have kept it quiet, and I've tried to fight my battles alone. So when I see these planted stories, this manufactured discontent raising its head again, I realize that my attempts at being silent for the cause of unity are in vain, because there are some who will never stop fighting me.
He says comrades in southeast St. Catherine must decide whether they'll stand with murderers or seek unity.
And even people who are now core members of my team, they're saying, "We'll work with you, but we still feel a way." And we know in Jamaica, so them feel a way. Only we know that means. So this meeting is another attempt at reconciliation from the leadership. What was said over and over in that meeting, that people don't have a personal problem with me, contrary to what is put out in the media, it was the process. The unity starts now. And people are going to either stay on one line with that resistance of murderers, or they're going to say, "Let us have dialogue and come together." You don't have to come now, but have some dialogue. But you cannot be used by people who have such an evil heart. And I make no apologies in saying that.
Dr. Dawes expects to challenge the JLP's Robert Miller at the next general election. Miller unseated the PNP's Colin Fagan in the September 2020 general election. Fagan had held the seat since 2007. Nora Gay Banton for Nationwide News.
So, Ricardo, a lot of things to unpack there.
It's an extraordinary story.
It is.
And let's just tell the listeners, we invited Dr. Dawes. He confirmed, but he has subsequently pulled out of the interview, he says, due to other
and we confirmed
issues.
him early afternoon.
We did. We did. We are to be joined by political commentator Kevin O'Brien Chang and political commentator Dr. Nadeen Spence. But I'm begging you, ladies and gentlemen, just for a moment, because Cliff, I call upon your knowledge in moments like this. Because when I heard the tale told by the good medical doctor, I said, surely this is without precedent in Jamaica's political history.
It's not the first time we are hearing from a politician in Jamaica that there was an attempt to poison him. The late PNP General Secretary, former Minister of National Mobilization in the 70s, in the Michael Manley administration, Dr. D.K. Duncan, told the Jamaican people that during the height of the internal struggles between the so-called left and right wings of the People's National Party in the 1970s, in that struggle, of which he was a major player, Duncan, yes, he was seen as one of the leaders of the left wing of the party, he was fed arsenic. D.K. Duncan said that. He was fed arsenic, and he felt he was fed arsenic when he attended PNP meetings.
So he felt that came from inside the party.
Inside the party, yes. I recall that very clearly. There have been other stories of not necessarily people being poisoned, but some noted political leaders of that period as well would tell you that they would not go to some party meetings and imbibe or eat. Yes?
Out of fear.
Out of fear because of that experience and because the internal disputes, struggle was so bitter. Yeah? They were fearful that they could have been poisoned. Yes? I am trying to remember, well, this would have preceded my time, but there's also the story of some politicians, this is more legend than anything, being somehow their fall from balconies, or to say that they sleepwalked off balconies and fell, and died. But the poisoning, this one is... And we should tell the listeners, last year we were one of the reporters who called Dr. Dawes.
Yes, that's also a part of the tale.
Yes.
Which I'm not, because my recollection, now we've been trying to find the clip, is that he downplayed. I'll put it no stronger than that. Downplayed.
He really tried to downplay and to dodge.
To kill the story.
Yes.
Essentially.
He killed the story. Let us not be... Know that he has said
right.
so. He killed the story because we learnt of this incident last year during the height of the what was it? The dispute?
Tussle, yes.
The tussle, yes.
Over the seat.
Fight over there between his team and Ulrich Campbell's
right.
team. Ulrich Campbell, now the deputy mayor.
Right.
Yeah, councillor for the Edgewater division. And at the time we asked, because we were told that, listen, there was an attempt to poison Dawes. And I called him and he downplayed it. He said, no, that was not the situation. So when I heard this now, I really was looking forward to interviewing him here this evening.
His explanation, by the way, as to why he's now saying this is that at the time when he downplayed it, he was doing that in the interest of party unity.
And he did not even share it with the leadership of the party?
So he claims.
He did not share it with the leadership of the party? So he's now going for broke. So he's not thinking about unity anymore. He has framed
a line
it.
in the sand, essentially. It's me or murderers.
Exactly.
That's essentially what he said.
So he's calling comrades who are against his time there murderers.
Certainly factions, elements of that, of the division he's facing.
Is stunning.
Yeah. Dr. Nadeen Spence?
It is stunning. When I heard the story earlier on your 5 o'clock newscast, and I was wondering, you're right, I think somebody said it felt like, it read like something coming out of
A
somewhere
Russian spy novel.
outside of Jamaica.
Yes.
It sounded incredible. And no, I was saying to myself, nothing can, Jamaicans and nothing can go so. Like I was
Yes.
like, it. I guess because I grew up on the edge of the 70s and the drama of Jamaican politics. I know I would have read off and heard about all those happenings in the past where Jamaican politics seem to have been so dark and dangerous that I would not have expected that in 2024 we would have had somebody repeating or speaking to an incident as sinister and dark as this one. It sounds frightening.
And his theory of what happened is that the intended target was a female supporter who was with him.
Yes.
And the way he reasons it is that she would have been so harmed that he would have to take her body to hospital, which would have engulfed him in a scandal.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I read that. I heard that too, and his interpretation of it is even more frightening because the first thing I said to myself, so what would be so important in running for an MP position? Like, what is there to get in that post that would make somebody go to such extremes? And what? And I also asked myself, is the PNP really mending its fences or mending its divides? Or
But the answer to that, obviously, Dr. Spence, is no, because Dr. Dawes said, in the interest of party unity, to maintain the veneer of unity,
Yes.
he did not report an attempted murder, an attempt at his life, essentially.
Yes. By murderers.
Yes.
He used the word murderers to describe them. And that comrades will have to choose between him and murderers. I can't see any unity coming again, any reconciling after those words.
And he essentially says he has come to that position now, that he just cannot maintain the veneer of unity, that people now just have to choose. Kevin O'Brien, Chang, what was your reaction when you heard the story?
It's very disturbing. I mean, in itself, it's very disturbing. But even more disturbing in the context of what we're seeing happening. Because look at yesterday. Dr. Tufton gets in an accident, breaks his wrist. And what's the PNP's reaction? With special treatment. He should have to wait in line like everybody else. Right? And then we see Dr. Dawes saying I was poisoned and the people over there are murderers. As Nadeen said, we know where we came from, where we're coming from. But most people thought we had moved on. I mean, look at the last election, local government. Navy was the best ever. PNP and JLP dancing together. And PNP lady saying, oh, my JLP friend and buy him a lunch, right? We thought we'd move to a level of healthy competition, but not bloody, vindictive, murderous. We thought we'd put those days behind us, but clearly we haven't. And it's sad. It's sad for lovers of the Jamaican democracy who see us as a role model to the world. One of the most stable democracies in the world for the last 62 years, a little black country, a model to the world. And now it seems like we're going back to the dark days. And listen, I'm going to say this. Mr. Mark Golding, here is a chance for you to set an example to the nation. Talk to your party. Tell them it is not who we are. Tell them that we are not going back to the days of bloodshed and vindictiveness and bad-mindedness. Call out Ms. Burchell. Talk to Dr. Dawes and whoever is against that and say, look, even if there are differences, we must settle them peacefully. This murderers thing is very disturbing. And let's be blunt, if it's the internal fighting in the party with this, what level will happen when it's against the other side, the JLP, in an election? Let's say technically mark death.
And
if this is the kind of thing going to happen in our next general election, no, man, we're going to go back to the bad old days of the 70s.
And
Please,
if you could,
I'm
Cliff.
calling on all our leaders to condemn it. including Mr. Golding. It would be wonderful if Mr. Holness and Mr. Golding could come out jointly and said, we are putting this stuff behind us. We are not interested in going back. It would be a real example of leadership.
Bugs, if you could just pull up the third story in the 5 o'clock run, let's play for you what Mr. Golding said about the state of unity in his party. The third story.
While you bring that up, let me remind the listeners, it was sometime in 2020 in the neighboring constituency of East Central St. Catherine, when another medical doctor, psychiatrist, Dr. Delahaye, Winston he was?
Yes.
Winston Delahaye was going up to represent the PNP in East Central St. Catherine. And after a big fanfare, he just abruptly took up his marbles.
He fled.
And fled. Why? He said his life was threatened.
Yes, this is true.
Threatened.
This is true.
In the neighboring constituency of East Central St. Catherine. Now we are hearing about Dr. Dawes being poisoned in Southeast St. Catherine.
Yeah.
Huh?
Here is how Mr. Golding characterized unity in the PNP.
We have had our little issues over the years, in recent times in particular, and we have been very deliberate in solving those issues. Sometimes I've had to make decisions, or decisions have had to be taken, which have led to some feeling away they didn't get the candidate they wanted or whatever. But I say to each and every comrade, put the interests of Jamaica first and your party as a vehicle for building the progress in Jamaica, and put down any little issues now and make a rally together. And it has been working. The people are seeing the PNP again as a united force. And I was in Southeast St. Catherine over the weekend. So we need I told the comrades over the weekend my reasoning why I chose Dr. Dawes for Southeast. And the comrades had a good meeting, they vented, they said what they had to say, I listened keenly. And by the end of the meeting, comrades, Dr. Dawes gave a lovely speech, expressed his love for them and his desire for us to work together. And we sang Jamaica Rise in a spirit of unity. So don't watch what the media carried afterwards. I was there. And we had another meeting this afternoon of the entire constituency, because on Friday that was just one division. And we had the whole constituency workers meeting today, and everything was nice and airy.
Oh?
Everything was nice and airy. Hold it there for us, Kevin O'Brien, Chang, Dr. Nadeen Spence. We're up on the break.
Good evening. We're inside the nation's business, dealing with a new political turn in terms of the struggles within the People's National Party's Southeast St. Catherine constituency organization between Dr. Alfred Dawes, who has been parachuted into the constituency by the party leader, Mark Golding, and those PNP supporters who are resisting the entry of Dr. Dawes. That first surfaced over a year ago.
Yes.
And now it has resurfaced with a vengeance, with Dr. Dawes telling the comrades on Sunday, yesterday, that they will have to choose between him and the murderers in Southeast St. Catherine. He went on to relate a plot, an attempt to poison him, yes, to kill him, yeah, but said that, listen, he's of the view that the poison was meant for an unnamed female supporter, and that he would have been tarnished because the female was in his company and would have had the poisoned food, and he would have had to be rushing her to the hospital.
He went further. He suggested to the comrades that this plot may be bigger than the constituents, that it may have originated from outside. Yes, that they're powerful forces. They don't want him to run.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Powerful sources in the PNP.
He stopped short of saying where those forces are from.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, we had Dr. Dawes booked from early this afternoon, yes, because we were planning to do this segment. And then he called shortly after 5 this afternoon. just after our major broadcast, news broadcast at 5, when we reported the story, to cancel. Yes? And I should also tell you, listeners, in the rap, in the clip, Dr. Dawes said, in relating to the comrades what happened last year, that he was being called by reporters.
Yes.
We were one of those reporters. I called Dr. Dawes and I asked him, what was this I'm hearing of an attempt to poison him? And he gave me a story, essentially saying, Cliff, not Nogoso. Yes, not Nogoso. He admitted to the comrades yesterday that he deliberately didn't say, until now. He didn't even share it with the leadership of the party, which is extraordinary that something like this would happen. And you wouldn't have shared it with the man who parachuted you into Southeast St. Catherine?
In the interest of
president?
unity.
And you didn't share it with the leader, the GenSec?
And that's where I want to take our guest now, because Mr. Golding, Dr. Spence says everything nice and airy in Southeast St. Catherine. And I wondered if you could advise him, what would you be saying to him this evening?
Well, it's two things. It's one, making sure that he is consistent in his interpretation of events and his retelling of stories. So if he knew, for example, that what Dr. Dawes was saying was being said in public and was being said on a stage, that it could be accessed by other people and brought to the public, why would you then go on another stage and say what you did? Because it brings into question then the consistency of your reasoning and how you interpret things. Because, right now there's a story that is building in Jamaica and has been gaining traction about Mr. Golding's inconsistency in what he says. That's one. So what I'd say to him is, watch that. That sounds very inconsistent and sounds, it fits right into the narrative that you have been creating about yourself. And the other thing is that, he said something that was very important in his telling of the story. He said, people felt bad about how I would have done the leadership selection process, how the leadership selection process was carried out. But he personalized it. He made it sounded as if it was something that he did. And if you remember some of those leadership battles, they came from a place which said that the party had a process and they were sticking to the process, as opposed to, I, the leader, have decided this for you, and so don't watch no face, just know that I was doing it in your best interest. And there was an inconsistency with the telling of that story and the telling of the stories previously, which spoke about a democratic selection of candidates process. But also the gravity of the situation, I think, was lost on him. So given the fact that you knew all of this, his interpretation of it and the gravity of it and where it would take people like me and you and Kevin, we know that Ricardo too young to have the memories that we have. But where it would take us in terms of our political history and the things that we know about Jamaica, he didn't seem to get the gravity of that. And I think that was what disturbed me more than anything else about it. That it's not a PNP story, it's a Jamaica story. And when a politician talks about, on a stage, someone attempting to poison you, it has a chilling impact.
It does.
It has a chilling impact on the nation. So
Kevin O'Brien Chang?
Well, it boils down to one thing, How far are some people prepared to go to gain power? As I say, politicians want power and all this. It's universal. But decent politicians draw a line in the sand. They say, look, I want power, but there's places I'm not prepared to go to seek power. And we thought that's where Jamaica had come. How we know in the 70s there was no line. It was virtually a civil war in 1980. It was power at any cost. And if we go back there, it's easy to backslide in this life, right? And here's Dr. Dawes calling these people murderers.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
That
and
is
link it again back to Dr. Miss Burchell, what she's saying about Dr. Tufton, right? The mentality that I will do anything and say anything to gain power that might help me gain power. We need to roll that back. We need to roll back. We need to have our leaders say, look, yes, we want power, but there are places we're not prepared to go.
Mm-hmm.
It seems that the lines have been erased.
Yeah, but you know,
and that is, it's being erased right now. And as I say about the general election next year, and if it is an internal party struggle, they're murderers. What's going to happen when it's JLP versus PNP? And as I said, the leaders have to lead, and as I say, take sleep mark this because it's a slippery slope. It's a very slippery slope in politics, and they have in Jamaica, well, fire stick easy to catch, and it works in more than one way. You can easily go back where you come from.
But you know,
and that's why it is.
Hold on, Kevin. Hold on, Kevin. Nadeen has been trying to come in.
Yeah, I was going to say, because that one of the things we perhaps haven't done is sufficiently of it signposted where we went wrong in the 70s, leading up to the 1980 election and things just before that. I don't think we've signposted enough and spoken about it enough so that the generation after, who will be the primary actors in politics, will know sufficiently what that was about and to know how not to, as Kevin calls it, the slippery slope, how not to walk onto that path at all. I don't know if these players in the party, particularly the PNP, which I think has some very young politicians.
The majority of them have no clue as to as to how far we went. They don't.
They probably hear us talking now and are wondering why we're making such a big deal of these statements because they don't have a memory of it.
And that is what I was going to ask you, Nadeen. There are people listening now and say, boy, why not blow this up for? You know, a little internal party squabble and them have a little disagreement. Why not bring this on the radio for? What do you say to that listener tonight? Is that we have, I mean, I don't know, I wouldn't know how to answer them because I remember, you know, Ricardo, I was in 1980, I was going to hospital in Kingston and I was wearing an orange dress. I've written about it. And when we got to Old Harbour, my mother had to go in Old Harbour and buy one X-Fact baton for me, you know. I could not go into Kingston. I was going to Bustamante Children's Hospital. As an 8-year-old child, I couldn't go into Kingston in an orange dress. I had my mother, the bus refused to move with my mother when they got to Old Harbour.
The girls at St. Hughes had to change their uniform, which was green.
Oh.
It was that bad.
Oh, it wasn't always blue?
No.
No.
It was green.
Oh.
And St. Hughes had to change their school uniform because of the violent tribal nature of the politics that we reduced to colors. So Nadeen in an orange dress, would be automatically viewed as a socialist comrade.
But you know something, guys and lady, even without the history, if you hear a politician say they tried to poison me, they are murderers. Do you need history to understand how the danger of the situation we're in? When a man said they almost tried to poison me, and then he do the murderers over there. Yes, the history, the context is one thing, but do you need the history to realize that something is wrong here? The man has talked about they tried to poison and kill me, or the lady I was with, and they're murderers. We don't need history to understand that something is drastically wrong here, and could get a lot worse.
But Kevin, the leader of the opposition, said that everything cool.
Well, that's why I said the responsibility of the leader. Leadership must take a higher ground.
And we're going to also try to find out the sequence of these speeches because it's important to find out whether Mr. Golding made that comment before Dawes took the stage and relayed this story or after. The sequence is going to be important.
But the words have power, actions have power. I said this is not normal. It is not a situation where any Jamaican can listen to what happened and say, this is just politics. This can't be just politics.
Yeah.
Not in 2024.
More than anything else, is that we, those of us who remember, must guard against the creeping into our politics again, because we also know what we lost as a result. And so we have to make sure that people get it. We have to make sure that people get it, that we cannot walk this path again.
Cannot.
Look, in 2017, Andrew Holness wished Protestant Miller happy birthday. Right? 7 years later, where are we? As I said, we thought we had come to a place where there was decorum and dignity and a respect for the other side.
But
whether it is internal enemies or external, whatever, there's a respect for, we're fighting here, but it's like in boxing. Keep your hands, keep your hands up, no punching below the belt.
There are rules to the game.
But the rules have gone. There's nobody's punching below the belt.
But something, I saw this story that came out at a cricket match with Mr. Patterson and Mr. Holness last week, and Mr. Holness and Miss Grange had to go through a big thing to say, we actually respect and love PJ Patterson. Is that there seemed to be that lack of appreciation for the fact that there are some people in Jamaica who get that the political space is its own thing, and that outside of that, these people can have respect for each other and can relate to each other in very positive ways. It seemed to me, I remember the time when we used to be at pains to tell people, these people are actually friends, or they actually have polite conversation outside of the sparring that you see on the political stage.
Yeah. And it was this morning in our news group, or last night into this morning, a young reporter was making reference to the Mexican elections yesterday, and that 37 candidates were shot and killed before polling day. And the young reporter was lamenting, what the hell? And, sighing relief that we didn't go there. But I had to remind him, yes, we didn't kill 37 in the run-up to 1980. But we killed a candidate. He was a minister of state at the time. He was a sitting member of parliament for East Rural St. Andrew, and he was shot and killed the night before nomination day.
Roy McGann.
Yeah. And we shot another candidate in the run-up to, it was the December 76 general elections. I think that was Ferdinita. Yeah? So we have been there. We have been there. That is why when some of you hear me, you think I'm, when I heard Peter Bunting trying to politicize the force 2 weeks ago, I felt so, moved.
But Cliff, when the ombudsman was here, the temperature had cooled tremendously because both sides respected the ombudsman. If the ombudsman came out and said something, we accepted it until somebody said they're not going to listen to the ombudsman and broke the what do you call it?
Convention.
The gentleman's agreement.
Yes,
right?
convention.
The gentleman's agreement. And those days, it's been slipping since then. And I mean, I'd like to get back that thing, but the ombudsman was destroyed, and I'm going to blame the media here. If the media had taken a strong stance then, when the ombudsman called for an apology for Licky Boy and get evil upon them, he would have had to back down. But the media was silent, civil society was silent. And I tell you, who is a disgrace to the nation right now is Jamaican civil society. They are totally silent on these two things. Both of them are linked because there's a lack of respect for your opponent. The poisoning, the murderers, they should have to line up with Dr. Tufton. Where is civil society to cool the temperatures? Where are the neutral voices that are going to say, no, let us draw the lines in the sand that we shall not cross. Let us respect each other. It's a gentleman's contest. There are rules here we must abide by. Where are these voices? The ombudsman was destroyed by the media and civil society saying nothing. And the same civil society is balling back for the ombudsman who they destroyed. And where are they now? Where are these voices saying this is unacceptable in Jamaican politics? This murderers and poisoning, and they stand up in a line and all that. They are a disgrace to the nation. They have no moral authority. They have no integrity because they only speak when one side does things. And
Yeah,
as I
Kevin,
say,
that's your word,
they have no support on the ground because they are not balanced and they do not try to keep temperatures down. They are not national for the country. And as I say, I'm going to call them DFJ, JAMP, NIA. You are disgraces to the nation.
Here is where I disagree with you, Kevin O'Brien Chang. Because I don't know that those groups you call that their mandate speaks to this kind of thing.
Oh, but they say plenty of things outside their mandate. Please, that's a feeble excuse. Many, many times they've gone way outside their mandate to say things. Come on, man, reality. You know what they've said over the last couple of years. We have seen it, talking about all different kind of issues unrelated to the mandate. Now we have Jamaican politics at danger of tipping back over into violence, and they're silent. Please, give me a break. Nonsense.
And
Actions speak louder than the words is what they have talked about before. Don't tell me about mandate now when you're gone way past the mandate in the past. Hypocrisy of the intellectual hypocrisy of the worst kind.
And just for context, some of our listeners, the ones who can go back more than 30 years, are reminding me in particular, Cliff, we shot and killed a returning officer in the run-up to the 1993 general elections. Yeah? And that happened March 27, 1993. A PNP politician killed an electoral official. I'm also being reminded, yes, Mike Henry was also shot. He survived. Yeah? So for the youngsters, we were there. We were in a war. According to police statistics, in the run-up to October 30, 1980, 800 Jamaicans died in the political war. I recall every morning you would get up, yes, 6-7 people shot and killed last night in political violence. I recall that, and a lot of hot spots. Southwest St. Andrew, Southern St. Andrew, West Kingston, the whole western belt, West Central St. Andrew, yeah? Parts of Central Clarendon, Central St. Catherine, yeah? Hotbed, political hotbed. People had to be leaving their homes, and you go to bed and wake up if your yard would be invaded the night to come. Yeah. I'll never forget it. It's a period that we must never go back to. Yeah?
These things are not party things, Cliff. They are national things, and everybody must take it upon themselves to see. Take off the orange, take off the green. It is these things can have national implications. When blood flows, there's no orange or green blood. It's all red.
Yeah. Jamaican blood, Jamaican people blood.
Kevin O'Brien Chang, Dr. Nadeen Spence, thank you for the perspectives as always.
Yeah, man. Take care.
Yeah, man. And this is why I keep telling you that it's important that that period of our history be documented, because the sources are fading. It's becoming increasingly difficult for me to find literature, anything to read about that period of our history. And so every time I keep pressuring you, it's not just because my ego.
Yeah.
I think it needs to be documented by those who remember.
I need to write now. I need to write now. Yeah? Because a whole lot of you don't know it.
Yeah.
You didn't live it. Don't know it. Yeah? And that is why I get so emotional about it, because I was one of those who you went to bed not knowing if you will be alive tomorrow morning. For example, the night when Roy McGann was shot in Gordon Town. I was living on Pembroke Road off Windward Road in East Kingston. We didn't have phones then. Yeah? But somehow the word got around, or it was on the news. The RGR 6 o'clock news, the morning. I think nomination day was October 14. And on the night there was a meeting in Gordon Town. And we heard McGann was shot. He could not be nominated the following morning. the PNP hurriedly nominated Perry Stoltz. Yeah? Perry Stoltz. And you could feel it was more than the thickness
Of the tension.
of the tension in the country. Yeah? The country had exploded. Yeah? So a lot of people just wanted October 30 to come.
And go.
Yeah. Yeah. There were moments when we thought Siaga or Michael would have been shot. There was that famous incident along North Street. Yeah? Where North Street intersects with Charles Street and Matches Lane. Not Matthews Lane, Matches Lane. And Siaga was going along there. You would see it in a photograph, an iconic photograph in the Gleaner when he was being pulled across. Yeah, a hail of gunfire. Yeah. Michael Manley and D.K. Duncan in Moonamar Square in Spanish Town. We were at war. War. And thankfully, we pulled back. Yeah, we pulled back. Jamaicans, we must never, never go back there.